God is good, and with each day that passes brings us a day closer to the launch of Pantheon Rise of the Fallen. This is the Napalm channel, and if you are new here, please consider subscribing, especially if you're interested in Pantheon related content on our march to launch. So today I want to talk about the perception system with all the new information that we were able to glean from the recent stream with Chris Joppa Perkins and Co Carnage. We had a large portion of the stream dedicated to the perception system, and a lot of new information was dropped. Some of the stuff I've already discussed or theorized or even straight up said, other parts even I hadn't dared to dream of. As with everything Visionary Realms has discussed, the mini-systems seem to get deeper and deeper with more and more vision and purpose behind each one as we go further, causing a web effect that will, at launch, in my opinion, become the very fabric of the game experience. Now, if you've just surfaced from Iraq, I would like to real quick point out that the perception system is a very solid idea for Pantheon Rise of the Fallen. It's a way of telling stories and lore by taking part in pings or telegraphed messages that can come from the environment or NPCs. Like, see that cool looking rock that looks like a face? Go up to it, inspect it, and if you meet the mini perception system's qualifications, you may begin unearthing the secrets or lore behind it piece by piece. You then take that information, get some perception experience, and do as you wish with it to either unlock more pieces to the lore puzzle or ignore it and move on your way. Now keep in mind that getting different perception dings depends on so many different things. Your race, your class, your level, your experience as a keeper of perception, items in your inventory, things you have killed, and so on and so forth. So the perception system is completely optional, by the way, guys, for those who aren't interested, as you do need to become a keeper in order to begin unmasking these secrets of the world of Terminus. First up, let's listen to this clip of Chris Joppa Perkins, and then we'll discuss
some of the dialogue on it, and or a little bit more dialogue on it, and you can see how some of that branching. Yeah, that's a great example. I'm a little behind, I think, because I'm watching your.
I'm looking at these. Like these are gigantic, flowing tracks here.
Yep. And so these are. This is what we mean when we talk about meaningful discovery and also meaningful decisions. So what you're seeing here is a tool that our senior programmer. One of our senior programmers, Robert Crane, who's really been spearheading the implementation of the perception system, he's been working on. Codenamed Odin is the name of this tool, and it is a node-based narrative design tool, which it does more than narrative design. There's a lot of our NPC stuff, from placement to setting up routines and AI behaviors and things like that, takes place in this tool. But what we were wanting to focus on today is the flexibility of the tool to allow us to branch different dialogue options and ultimately different outcomes and paths that can take place when you're having conversations with NPCs, or potentially prompted through different kind of mini events when you come in contact with something that has story related to it. So an example would be a statue. Or those carvings on the wall I referred to earlier. There may be some kind of quote-unquote conversation you could have with that thing that you're seeing as you're thinking to yourself even, and making different decisions in your own mind, following your own intuition of what you might do with this information or how you're going to interpret this information to actually be. And so again, not to get too far off into the weeds of the implications, but here you're seeing really the technical side under the hood.
Let's head right into the weeds, actually. So something I really hadn't thought of as far as the perception system is concerned is multiple paths to get to multiple conclusions kind of scenario that he was talking about there. So for example, if I take path A leading to path options D and E, and I end up arriving at path H, and then talk with other players who took path B and ended up at path J, can we talk and realize each other's interpretation and how we got there and what information we gathered along the way, and come up with a more full understanding of the particular subject? Do you see where I'm going with this? So let me put it this way. If there are multiple outcomes, in some scenarios at least, then each outcome probably has some sort of percentage of total knowledge, meaning that we will need the literal perception of other players to reach a full concrete understanding. So, for example, if I see a statue of George Washington as a kid, and I ask who he is to my teacher, just play along with me, and she tells me some basic information. He was the first president of the United States. He had teeth that were made out of animal teeth. Then my friend sees the same statue, but instead of asking the teacher, he heads to the library, he borrows a book on George Washington, and then he reads it, gleans all this information, then we talk about him. He adds to my knowledge with information he gained, such as, Washington was a famous war general, he had no children of his own, etc., etc. So some might be happy with the information they gained from their path and choice. A true lore master might go out to see the full picture. I could have went on happy with knowing what I knew of George Washington, for example, or I could mention it and a friend give me even more insight, in which I would probably reply, how did you find that out? Well, because I went to the library instead of asking the teacher. It's kind of a silly way to explain what multiple paths could mean in theory, but I hope you get my point and see what I'm saying and how really deep and interesting all of this could really get, because the point is to get your mind rolling and get you excited about it, because I'm super excited about the perception system. It's my favorite system pre-launch of Pantheon Rise of Fallen. But enough about that. Let's move on to the next clip and talk about that.
What are you going to do about spoilers? So it's great to have, branching storylines and, that choice, but what are you going to do about spoilers, a month, 2 months, 3 months after the game's launched? And it's a little bit of an in-depth answer, but I can say relatively simply that the system of flagging, we're going to call it flagging, which is basically has to do with what race your character is, what class your character is, what level your character is, what creatures have you killed in your overall journey as a character, what NPCs have you spoken to, what items have you looted, all of those things and more function as flagging that creates kind of a unique fingerprint for your character, so that when you come across that statue that I keep referencing, let's say, it's going to what kind of options are available to you is going to depend on what kind of character you are and what kind of experiences you've had. And so while there may be certain spoilers, it's going to be really hard to track down for your specific character with your specific history and makeup what actually is going to happen when you do the thing. So again, we'll have more information about that and actually show that, we want to show these things too, and we're going to be working to show these sometime in the hopefully not so distant future. But I just wanted to put that out there because it's a very understandable concern or hesitation about really getting excited about the idea, and but so I want to just put that out there to say we're aware of that, and we're working through this kind of deep variable flag and layering to make it as unspoilerable as we can.
So I think that's key to understanding how cool the perception system really is, and that's the fact of how unspoilerable, as Chris Perkins put it, that it really is. Now sure, you could still spoil it. Somebody could still unravel the entire different paths and all the different things that could be said and what you have to do to ping it or to flag it so that it pops up and create this elaborate web of different things per perception flag. It just gets complicated because you have to be a certain level, you have to have killed so many of this, you have to be this race combination or this class combination, you have to, all these different things, all requirements for the specific thing to flag. To be honest, it's so many factors to get that to happen that it would just simply be easier just to play the freaking game and figure out what you can figure out. And if for something specific, you can maybe find a website where they're going to untangle that ridiculous mess of things and then try to do it backwards and try to meet those requirements by doing certain things. And in some cases, you just won't be able to. You're not going to be able to see that unless you roll a new character with this specific race or class, or possibly, I'm thinking, getting a group with that particular person and get them to do it. And I think in a group setting, you possibly, it's not confirmed, but I think with a group member, you would be able to see it through their eyes, so you'd be able to kind of check it out from a different perspective or see something that maybe wasn't available to you. But the point I'm trying to make is that how cool something like this is, because it solves a big problem that a lot of us have been complaining about in MMORPGs, and that's that it's just so easy to look up the quest and where to go and what you got to grab and what you got to get, that this kind of makes the lore and possibly, you know, certain quest lines a lot cooler and a lot more interesting and a lot more specific. I like how you use that word, the player's specific fingerprint, because it's unique. It's certain characteristics that, yeah, other people probably will meet as well, but it's very unique to you. It's something you've done. You're the one who went out and killed 5,000 gnolls and made it possible for you to understand their language and unlock their lore about the gnolls themselves, or whatever the case may be. You get the point. I just made that up, but you see where I'm going with it. It's very cool, and it makes the world feel more alive, and it makes it more interesting to explore. It absolutely encourages exploration to figure out all the mysteries of Terminus, and it also will make for some really cool videos about specific places or things in Terminus, and you better believe that I will be doing some of that. But let's move on now. Let's talk a little bit about what the perception system looks like, how it's going to feel, and how it's going to work as far as the UI is concerned, because we did get a little bit of information on that, so let's check that out real quick.
And so far, I've been up to my eyeballs in all manner of user interface bits and bobs and little elements, and just helping to develop around a central design idea, develop the look and feel for the UI, specifically the perception system is what we're going to be talking about. So if I can just unburden myself here a little bit and just get rid of a little bit of this, you know, layering in here, you can see there's just so many layers. And this is more or less a history of the development of the UI, and just looking at different aspects of the UI and the certain elements. And we went down many roads around a central design theme to bring the user interface in general for Pantheon to you guys. So we'll just keep digging. We keep digging, keep looking in here. You can see here, these are the masks I've used in Unity to actually bring together these perception auras, which you'll see later on when we actually do dive into Unity. But yeah, it's been a wonderful foray into developing the look and feel. I'll just unburden a few more bits and pieces here and just have a look around what we've got here and just check things out a little bit. So you can see here, there's a little bit of development on the UI front here, looking at different elements, how we might best understand how we're studying something. So it's like a progress bar when you're reading or when you're listening, but all this is old news. So you're getting a little insight into the history of our perception system in terms of how it's been presented in the UI. And you're also getting a little insight into, and insight's probably a good word, into what our actual mechanism for perception is when you see Project Fairfail demo coming to you shortly. This is the Sightstone, and it's a wonderful little archaic and arcane device that gives perception. So yeah, it's really coming together here. How to convey an intangible thought in a tangible way, because thought is fleeting, it's an impulse, it's a moment in time, and that's what we're really trying to grasp with perception. So you can see here is our perception window or our perception portal, and essentially these things will pop in and we're still dialing in the effects and how these actually work. So with your comfort in mind, we have endeavored to create a user interface system specifically for the perception system around that particular idea. So starting with a solid design spec, which goes a long way, a central idea and focus around which to build this particular function. But it's a blend, as I was saying before, it's a blend, and a harmonious blend at that, between the invisible aspect of UI. So I'd say that a harmony between being visible and also invisible is critical to UI. And the other thing is, it's all about function. So you want it to read well, you want it to work, but you also want it to be beautiful without being distracting.
The one on the left, that is our perception system dialogue. So that is
So basically the point of that was now we got an idea of what it's going to look like as far as the UI goes when these flags or these pings go off and what the windows look like. And I do like that they're separated from a normal window, so you would know just from the look of the window popping up that this is a perception system. And it looks, you know, the way to think of this whole thing is it's like the D&D DM, Dungeon Master, is telling you things that are going on, you know, pointing you in a certain direction, or you're already looking at it, and so you're inspecting it, you're using your perception roll, if you will, to find out more information. But when these things just pop up on you, you'll know, oh, this is a perception base, this is for my keeper line, which is the next thing I want to bring up, because they talked a little bit about that, and I want to play that clip and then we'll wrap it up.
If you think of the perception system like you would think of crafting, when you start a character, you are not a crafter. You choose to craft. You choose to become a tradesperson. In the same way, you choose to become part of the perception system, and when you do so, you become known as a keeper. So a crafter is a crafter, and a keeper is somebody who has initiated the perception system and is developing that side of their character. Now, when you become a keeper, you gain the skills related to the perception system, which include the insight and the investigate skill. I'm not going to go too deep into those. The insight skill is passive. It affects what kind of things you will notice in the environment around you. And then the investigate skill is active, where similar to, you think of like a Dungeons and Dragons campaign, you walk into a new area and you tell the DM, I want to explore the room. I want to study the room. That's kind of what investigate is like. And so the higher investigate skill, the higher chance you have to notice something interesting in your environment. But what it also does is it creates these opportunities for storylines. And if you look at the dialogue window on the right, that's what the basic player will see, whether you're a keeper or not. When you talk to NPCs that have a basic quest for you or just have something they want to say, that's the basic dialogue window you'll see. When you're a keeper, you're going to be able to initiate storylines. And storylines are different from basic quests. Storylines are the perception system specific quests. And that's where that special UI on the left will come into play. That's something that only a keeper will see. The branching dialogue is something that the keepers will be able to experience, and it's going to provide players with a chance to do amazingly deep dives into the lore and story of the game.
And so there you go. That kind of wraps up all the information. I really love it. So as you can see, once again, we're diving back into Dungeons and Dragons and the way that works. You got the investigate skill so that you can pick and hone in, like, all right, this statue looks really cool, something's up, this is interesting looking, let me try my investigate skill and see if I can get any further. Maybe I don't have the proper amount of experience and perception yet to actually find out more, etc., but you can investigate things out in the world, and it makes you go into these dark corners, these areas you may not go otherwise, just to investigate things, just to find out what's going on over here. Is there something that maybe nobody else has realized about this? You can actually dive into the world and try to find new glimmers of information or things. It's going to lead to lots more discovery, making the world feel so much more alive, and it's very, very awesome. It's about time that an MMORPG does something like this straight out of the handbook of Dungeons and Dragons, and I love it, and it's hard for me to understand how it's not everybody's favorite system in Pantheon Rise just because of its depth and how awesome all this is. Now we know there's storylines attached to it, only for keepers, only for people who are investigating these kind of things and going out and finding out about the lore and playing the perception system to its max. So guys, I hope you enjoyed the video today. Let me know, what are you most excited about as far as the perception system goes? What does it make you think? Does it have you in that adventure spirit? Anything you want to talk about, leave it in the comments down below, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video today, and until next time, God bless and happy gaming. Listen to what I say. I've been making videos all day. My friends all say I'm It's a video buffet, you can even hit replay. But please just subscribe. I can't even describe being part of my tribe. I'll even offer you a prize, but just please just subscribe and hit the bell notification too.